What's going on, everyone? Aaron here from Happy Hydro, and this is the video you've all been waiting for. That's right, we are taking the industry-leading top living soils and putting them through the ringer. We get our hands dirty by performing a slurry test to find out pH and TDS, also a drainage test, and even a real-time soil composition feel. So we do all the dirty work so that you can go into 2025 growing the best plants possible. So let's go check it out. Subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, get all of your indoor gardening supplies at happyhydro.com. Free shipping over $49. In a market that's super flooded with a bunch of different types of indoor gardening soils, you're gonna wanna pick the best one for you and your grow. And when choosing the right soil, there's a lot of different things that you have to think about. And I'm talking consistency, nutrient content, drainage, aeration, and even the pH levels. And you can walk into any of those big box stores and grab one of those macro soils, just like a Miracle-Gro or something like that, that has those time-release fertilizers in there. And while it sounds like a good idea to have time-release fertilizer, it's not necessarily meant for your indoor garden. The problem with these is that those time-release fertilizers are really hard to control. I mean, every time you water, your plant is getting blasted with a bunch of fertilizers, so you don't really know what that feeding is like for those plants. Also, it's really tough to monitor those pH levels when watering because of those time-release fertilizers. So the soils we will discuss in this video are crafted and cultivated using amendments with beneficial bacteria, while also utilizing fungi to break down that organic material, making it usable for your plants. Well, let's go check out some soil. First one on deck, Ocean Forest from FoxFarm. People have been using this forever. Let's see what makes it so great. So this is Ocean Forest from FoxFarm. This soil is ready to use, and it's excellent for both young and mature plants, which reduces the need for additional fertilizers early on. No need for nitrogen fertilizers initially, and it's ideal for garden containers such as pots and beds, and even houseplants. Some of the main key components of this include aged forest products, sphagnum peat moss, earthworm castings, bat guano, fish emulsion, crab meal, and all of these are providing you with your macro and micronutrients for the first few weeks of your plant's lives, which is roughly 4 to 6 weeks. Many indoor growers consider this soil to be the OG, and it's been around for a long time. I mean, probably your dad even used this when he was growing back in the day. And there's good reasons for this. It has been formulated for balanced growth and has the macronutrients you need for the plants that you love. With a soil pH range of 6.3 to 6.8, it does the job perfectly. Let's take a look at the soil. Whew. So right off the bat, this soil's got a good moisture consistency, so I'm not worried about it being too hydrophobic. And you can kind of see all the perlite that they incorporate in there, and even some of these larger chip pieces. I think that's really going to help with a lot of drainage and aeration, keep those roots nice and healthy for you. And like they say, it is rated for about 4 to 6 weeks, so it's obviously hard for me to see what nutrients are in here, but just off the bat, I mean, this looks like really solid soil. That's some good soil. And being an ocean forest, it really incorporates a lot of ocean aspects, I guess, including oyster shell, shrimp meal, and even crab meal. It's a really true surf and turf for your plants if you think about it. So cruising right along here. Oh God, this is FoxFarm Happy Frog. Some might say it's Ocean Forest's younger, heavier, but still milder brother. This potting soil is enriched with soil microbes to enhance root efficiency and nutrient uptake. And this is made possible by the inclusions of humic acid and mycorrhizae. Some of the key ingredients in this soil include aged forest products, stuff like leaf mulch, earthworm castings, which are very high in microbial activity, bat guano, humic acids, and the mycorrhizae that we talked about earlier, and it even includes oyster shell and dolomite lime. A really cool feature about this soil is the amount of different strains of mycorrhizae that it contains. Up to 15 different strains is included in this bag of soil. And that's really cool because what the mycorrhizae do is almost extend your roots, which is really gonna make that root ball more efficient with nutrient uptake. This soil has its pH beautifully adjusted to be between 6.3 and 6.8. With most people fertilizing within 1 to 2 weeks, you can amend with FoxFarm Trio or Happy Frog fruit and flower nutrients. And it's ideal for indoor plants and container plants, because this soil contains a lot of beneficial soil and microbes for improved root health. What's really cool about this soil is a lot of people will mix it with ocean forest because it's a little bit more mild. It's not as hot for those young plants. What are we waiting for? Let's get this bad boy in a fabric pot. So right off the jump, it feels much more dry than the ocean forest, which I guess makes sense in my mind. But what I'm seeing here is a bunch of different forest material. I know they mentioned that there was leaf mulch, but I'm also showing like larger size pieces of mulch, which, you know, even the size of this perlite is really gonna be helpful for drainage. It feels really lush though. And I mean, super light, super fluffy. Makes a lot of sense on why people like to use Happy Frog. So like I said, this soil's a little bit more mild than the ocean forest kind. So this is really only rated for 1 or 2 weeks, and then we're gonna wanna start amending it. And one recommendation I have is Happy Frog fruit and flower. What's up next, Matt? Oh, BioFlower from Bio365. Let's go check it out. This is Bio365 BioFlower Soil Blend. As a biologically active and nutrient-dense soil, it is designed specifically for the flowering stage of plants and reducing the need for extra inputs for 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, this soil has way more nutrients, lasts longer, and is jam-packed with beneficial biology. A soil like this is designed from the beginning with optimal soil porosity, providing perfect access to water while maintaining aeration for healthy root development and growth. The cocoa coir in this helps prevent it from becoming hydrophobic, and even though the soil is only rated for 6 to 8 weeks, it can carry you through flower. Some key ingredients in this soil are the coconut coir, sphagnum peat moss, perlite, softwood biochar, gypsum, and other natural fertilizers such as feather meal, bone meal, poultry litter, alfalfa meal, volcanic ash, dolomite, kelp meal, Epsom salt, and sulfate of potash. What's really cool about the soil is its process and how it's made. Now, we talked about some of the key ingredients, but one that sticks out is that softwood biochar. And in case you're not familiar, all that is that this softwood is turned into charcoal, which in fact almost creates a bio-hotel, and it hosts a plethora of microorganisms and plant roots. It's almost like a sponge for life. Not only does that biocharge foundation sit for 3 weeks so that microbiology ramps up, aerates, and then sits for another 3 weeks, they do all of this inside. Also, we store this soil inside, so that means bug-free, baby. So I have worked a little bit more with this soil, and the feedback is the same across the board. It's an incredible soil, and it's even perfect for autoflowers. I mean, we've had a ton of customers told us about the success with popping a seed in a root rye cube and then water only for autoflowers. And a quick shout out to Dream Beans, they're doing it right. You might notice a little extra additive, it's the magnesium. That really is geared for that flower stage. Bio365's BioFlower does a really good job incorporating a lot of natural organic material with, perlite and other fertilizers that help this grow. And what I like about this is the nice, soft, fluffy soil, but you can see all of these cocoa coir strings in here. That's going to retain a lot of moisture. And when you retain a decent amount of moisture, The biochar that's built in, kind of like a little hotel for those microorganisms, that's gonna be working overtime, providing all those nutrients to your plants and making those roots happy and healthy. It's not super overly saturated, wet, moist, but you can still feel it's got a nice, cool, damp feel to it, so it's gonna rehydrate nicely. BioFlower is jam-packed with natural fertilizers that can carry you from 6 to 8 weeks, but some of our plants are a little bit hungrier than others, and for that, we recommend Gaia Green Power Bloom. And just beware, it is an organic amendment, so it does take a little bit of time, around 2 weeks to be activated. So be ready because flowering comes quick and we don't want to be late. Up next we got Indicanja from Purple Cow. Moo. Purple Cow Indicanja is a scientifically formulated, ready-to-use, water-only super soil designed to grow nutrient-dense plants from seedling to harvest. Ideal for heavy feeders like tomatoes and our other favorite budding crops. Some key ingredients are Purple Cow Organics plant-based compost, sphagnum peat moss, perlite, bone meal, kelp meal, potash, poultry litter, and volcanic ash. I would probably recommend starting seeds in a less nutrient-rich soil and then transplanting them into the Indicanja. You want them to be a little bit more established. I would recommend using 1 cubic foot bag per plant. It's going to give you the most optimal results. A really cool point about this soil is that it undergoes heavy metal testing, which supports the cultivation of clean flowers and compounds for human consumption. Not only that, but it passes with flying colors. Indicanja from Purple Cow. Now this soil is really smooth. I mean, it's a very fine grain almost compared to the other ones. So it makes it really smooth and luxurious feeling. A larger size perlite, fine with that. Really, very light brown in color. Not, I wouldn't say bone dry, but it's on the drier side. And still a lot of organic material in here. You can see like little sticks, little twigs, and other organic stuff you'd find in like a forest or something. But a really soft, light, fluffy soil while still maintaining a really small, almost, very sand-like silt to it. Purple Cow says Indicanja is a water-only soil and that any other added amendments might have negative effects on your plants. But that doesn't mean that this soil wouldn't really benefit from a nicely brewed compost tea. Moving right along, Stonington Blend from Coast of Maine. Let's get at it. Coast of Maine Stonington Blend. Now this soil combines a variety of premium ingredients to provide a nutrient-rich environment for plants, supporting their growth from seedling to harvest. This soil is designed for real heavy feeders like some of our favorite plants. But I will say it runs a little bit hot and would recommend starting with their seed starter mix first and then transplanting those young plants into the full-bodied Stonington Blend. Now this soil is OMRI certified, and the key ingredients that comprise this soil is sphagnum peat moss, cocoa coir, perlite, composted poultry manure, earthworm castings, fish bone meal, lobster and crab shell meal, kelp meal, alfalfa meal, and mycorrhizae. One cool thing about this soil is its nitrogen levels. Now it has a 0.5% nitrogen, but this is water insoluble nitrogen, and it's slowly available from composted nutrients, so it's a little bit more of a slower release nitrogen levels for your plants. Also showcasing a well-balanced pH of just around 6.3 for optimal nutrient uptake. Plus, its high organic content ensures long-term soil health. It is suitable for a range of potted and container plants, both indoors and outdoors. It also supports plants without needing extra nutrients. This soil very much so supports plants through all stages and is actually ideal for 15-gallon containers. So this soil feels really nice, right? It's really light and airy, I would say it's the smallest size perlite I've seen so far, and it's well distributed, a very moist soil as well. Not as moist as Ocean Forest, but still you can see that it's just a little bit more wet than some of the other soils you're used to getting. And it does a good job of, it smells really good too, like a good soil. You can also see like a lot of organic material in it as well. That has moisture coming out of it. So you can almost see there, it's a really nice soil. So Coast of Maine says their Stonington blend is rated for a 15-gallon pot or larger because it has all the nutrients it has to carry it from seedling to harvest. But since we're only using ours in a 7-gallon, we might need to add a little bit more. And for that, we would use Coast of Maine Stonington blend plant food. And last but certainly not least, BuildASoil's 3.0 recipe. This is BuildASoil's 3.0 recipe, and it is a nutrient-rich, compost-based soil designed for water-only growing. This makes it ideal for flowering and full-term growth. Created with high-quality ingredients, this soil is balanced for most plants and known for its exceptional performance. This soil is chock full of organic material. With a laundry list of key ingredients, some of those ingredients include premium compost, BuildASoil worm castings, BuildASoil Big 6 trace minerals with humic acid, organic Canadian sphagnum peat moss, organic New Mexico pumice, organic parboiled rice hulls, Grand Mesa Colorado volcanic basalt, organic Diamond K gypsum, High P organic rice bran, organic Thorvin Icelandic kelp meal, organic mustard seed meal, organic 2-row milled malted barley, organic alfalfa meal, something called Montana Grow, which I'm going to get into a little bit later, and BuildASoil's pre-charged biochar with root rise microbe complete. Like I said, this is a laundry list of organic materials. And it's even crazier because this soil is crafted and blended in Colorado in-house, so they're not sending it somewhere else to be built. Also, this soil ships moist so that the microbes don't go dormant, making it a really true living soil. This soil has also been put through the ringer. It is designed based on Logan Labs soil testing, and it provides optimal plant nutrient levels. Jeremy from BuildASoil puts it as designed to, well, have more everything. And I mean, that guy is a living soil expert. And this soil is very rich in nutrients, and you don't need any extra supplements. They say if you do want to add something, just make sure that it's organic to keep in line with the makeup of the soil. Because they've done a lot, heavy metal testing, adding all the organic material, and making sure that this soil is best for you, for your plants in a long-term, full-term growth. So Montana Grow is just a mineral-rich soil amendment. It's extracted from the natural deposits in Montana, and it enhances soil health and nutrient content, adding essential minerals and improving overall soil structure. BuildASoil's 3.0 recipe. Man, what a chunky soil. I mean, the size of these pumice stones are incredible, and it's still so smooth though. Just digging my hands in, I feel, enough resistance where I can feel it compact a little bit, but man, it just glides through there like butter. This is a really nice organic soil. You can see all the different organic pieces in there as well, working there. It's a nice light brown, bunch of cocoa it looks like too, man. And BuildASoil has a pretty unique manufacturing process in which they don't sterilize their potting soils or their compost. And that's cool because it really preserves that microbiome in here. The one thing we did come across is a disclaimer from BuildASoil saying that because they have this way of making the soil, you may find the occasional fungus gnat in here alongside of your beneficial fungi, your beneficial bacteria. But we've had this soil for about a month now, and there's no activity like that, no unwanted guests in our bag of soil at least. So let us know what you see in the comments down below. Another super soil jam-packed with an incredible amount of natural fertilizers and plant food. But to take your plants to the next level, we might need to add something else. And for that, I recommend the Craft Blend from BuildASoil. So you may see some numbers or at least some symbols that look familiar to you. And that's because as gardeners, we're all aware of the NPK values. And all that means is that there's a certain component of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium that the plants need and that are jam-packed in some of these soils. But don't worry, you might see low NPK values, and that's because naturally, soil doesn't really have a lot of NPK. It's what we add to it that makes it important. Just gonna use some distilled water in equal parts soil to equal parts water. Mix it around so it's a nice slurry. Almost like making brownies, so not as tasty. Well, for me, maybe your plants. Well, that's it. So right off the bat, like this is the thickest. So right off the bat, the BioFlower really holds well. It's a nice slush. Also, a little thinner. This is the coast of Maine. You can see a lot of the perlite floating around on top there. This is BioFlower or BuildASoil 3.0. You can see a lot of the husk and stuff. Ocean forest. Get a lot of stuff floating on top. This is more solid through. And Happy Frog, kind of the same. BioFlower, Indicanja, Coast of Maine, BuildASoil, Ocean Forest, Happy Frog. So I'm just a couple hours out away from performing that slurry test. When I saw these just sitting here, I thought it was super cool to take a look at. Because of all the settling, you kind of see how it's distributed in each of these different cups. You know, we have our different flavors or genres or different types of soils that we're looking at. Because I mean, if you were to look from the top, they look very different. Each and every one is totally different from the other. You know, so this is the first one we're working at. We're gonna make our way this way and just talk about them real quick. And I have a flashlight that I'm also gonna shine behind them, just so that we can get a real in-depth glimpse of what the heck's going on in these. So this first one right here is Happy Frog, which we're seeing a nice even distribution between the top layer and the bottom layer. So to me, that's a good mix between heavier products and lighter products to make that soil work for them. Also, we're seeing a nice even kind of clearish in the middle. I don't really know what it means, but we're just kind of gaining information and knowledge. The second one we got is Ocean Forest. And just kind of like Happy Frog, we're seeing an even distribution between that top layer of soil and that bottom layer of soil, cut in half by that layer of water. It's still on the clearer side, which is interesting because some of the other ones aren't as clear. Moving along, we have BuildASoil, which we see a very fine line at the top and a very heavy bottom. This has been almost like percolating. You can kind of see there's a bunch of stuff still in suspension and it's working. It almost looks like a lava lamp, which is pretty cool because a lot of that organic material is finally soaking up enough where it's sinking to the bottom. So we're seeing a lot thinner of a top and a lot thicker of a bottom and not nearly as much perlite as some of the other ones. This next one is the Coast of Maine. Almost on the same level as the BuildASoil, a very heavy bottom layer, some particles still in suspension, but when you look at the top, it's a lot more perlite in that smaller area, so that's a lot of it that's still floating is that perlite. So they must use smaller pieces and have a lot more just lightweight mass to them. This next one is Indicanja. which is really cool because it's a really dark murky. It's almost like tea in the middle. So it makes me think that there's a lot of nutrients in there that are working overtime. And you see a lot of it in suspension, and it's a good even layer. The bottom layer almost looks like silk. It's a very fine particle, where some of these bigger ones at the top, not as much perlite, but really dark in color. And next we have BioFlower, which is really crazy because a lot of it floats to the top. And I think that's cool because that's gonna show that a lot of the air mass and lightweight materials that they use is really gonna help your plants in the long run because it's gonna aerate those roots. There's gonna be more area for them to infiltrate and grow bigger. I mean, we're seeing almost all of it at the top still, which is wild because they've been sitting here for almost 24 hours. So I'm interested to see what those pH levels are at. What's really cool about this shot is that you can see almost like what is the makeup of these soils just by seeing what's kind of, floating around at the top. Here we have ocean forest. This one is happy frog. This one we have coast to Maine. We can see those little tiny perlites really floating at the top there. This one is BioFlower. Indicanja. And BuildASoil. Well, time to do some science. So here we are for our slurry test. And what I just did is I took some distilled water and equal parts soil and let them sit for around 24 hours so that we have a lot of that, almost like a tea effect, where it's gonna be leaching into each other, and then we're gonna get the runoff and we're gonna test the runoff. And what we're looking for is pH and TDS. And all I'm gonna do is filter these out so we just have that pure runoff and then just go and test them. So let's figure it out. So here we just have a little micron film. Just gonna start with my little compost tea bag and our ocean forest slurry. Well, moving into the drainage test, I have a couple of the same size containers with a bunch of different holes drilled into them. So this is going to just kind of see how fast it takes the water to travel through these different soils. And the first one we have up is Ocean Forest from FoxFarm. All right, next up we have Happy Frog from FoxFarm. And what I think is really cool about this test is that it just kind of shows you how fast the water travels through the different soil mediums. So depending on how your plant likes its environment, that's going to kind of dictate on how much saturation or how much drainage you want your plant to have. Here we can see what BioFlower Bio365 soils look like. Next we have Indicanja from Purple Cow. This one is the Stonington blend from Coast of Maine. I was kind of surprised this one took so long to permeate through the soil, but then again I thought about how much moisture they already had locked in, and it makes sense that it's not just a super dry soil that is going to be flushing out water right away. Here we have BuildASoil's 3.0 recipe. Well, wrapping up the drainage test, let's look at the winners. In first place, we have BioFlower from Bio365. I mean, with the soil composition, the way that it holds the moisture, and also that softwood biochar, which really ramps up root production, and the sheer amount of biology happening in the soil, makes it really good for first-time growers and long-time growers. In second place, we have BuildASoil 3.0 recipe. I mean, this is the ultimate organic growing experience. From the way that this soil is produced and cultivated all the way till it arrives at your door, it's going to be an incredibly organic experience. Next, I have a couple of honorable mentions. The first one being the Stonington blend from Coast of Maine. This really rich soil is incredible for a long-term, larger size grow, especially rated for the 15-gallon pot, and it is jam-packed with a lot of nutrients. And I also have to give a shout out to Purple Cow Indicanja. This is some pretty funky stuff. You know, each step of the way I was even more intrigued with the finer particles that it has, the smells that was coming off, and it just feels like a really good soil that I'm actually really excited to try. Well, that's it for this video on the best soils going into 2025. These are industry-leading soils, so if you guys have any experiences with these ones in particular or something else out there that you want us to test, let us know in the comments. But that's it for this time, and as always, stay happy, friends.